So I am here right now in front of the LCS studio. Behind me is Immortals, but next to me is Robert Yip. I did that right?
Very good pronunciation.
Right, yeah. Robert Yip, who is Irish.
Yeah, Irish.
Right. So you are yet another EU import into the North American LCS, right?
The EU influx is growing as we speak.
Do you think that it's going to come to a point where they have to limit how many European coaches? You get like one European coaching slot?
Eventually, all 10 teams will have EU coaches, so the takeover will be complete.
Yeah. Now, what does that mean for Dillon?
I might keep him on as my assistant, maybe.
Okay. Great. So
joking.
The other Immortals coach, Dillon, your future assistant.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between you and Dillon in terms of coaching?
There's a lot of like crossover in terms of like what we actually do together. He's a big advocate of, let's say, proper diet, proper exercise, getting sleep. His coaching style is pretty similar to mine. He's not a very emotional guy. He's got a lot of emotional control. The differences are in strategy. He's got a really good game knowledge compared to myself. My knowledge is not in League of Legends. Okay. So we kind of work off each other, along with our team manager, Dodo. His background being an ex-player means that the players can kind of understand, and he can understand where the players are coming from and what they've been through. So we got a good mix of like 3 different people from different backgrounds. Yeah. So we kind of fill the holes that another person would necessarily not have experience in. Yeah.
So what specifically is your background?
Background is in traditional sports. I've done coaching for soccer, athletics, rugby, Irish sports, things like that. So I've done that for about 8 years. Okay. And esports-wise, around the end of 2010, beginning 2011, I worked with Team Liquid, some of the StarCraft players, so Smash players as well. So I've done that for a little bit, I'd say about 2 years. So I do have experience in esports, but mostly kind of bridging the gap between what do traditional athletes do and what can esports athletes take from that.
So I keep having to say his name in every interview this weekend because he's just the new hotness, but you're very similar to Weldon in that way, right?
He's so hot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same background. He has a traditional sports background in coaching. Does a lot of 1v1, same qualifications with regard to sports psychology, and he's assembled like a really good group of people from Mind Games and ECN that have similar backgrounds and some slightly different backgrounds, like nutritionists, people, physiotherapists. So he's pretty good at getting people that want to make esports more professional, bring them all together, and then if teams are in need of someone like that, it's very easy to outsource to other people.
But back to you, what is your, I guess, academic or school, like I know he, for instance, teaches at a university where he got his master's in Finland. What is your whole, professional background on that front?
So college, in doing physical education and sports science, doing sports psychology and exercise psychology masters. After that, I went to sports coaching. Okay. So pretty much working with individual athletes and teams up to about international level. So I did that for a few years and continually would do that even if I wasn't in esports, for example. So I'm not particularly in esports to be in esports. It's just something that I find that there's a really cool niche that teams are growing like super quickly. In traditional sports, it's kind of slower. You kind of learn as you go, but in esports, 1 year is like 10 years in regular sports. Like you pick up things so quickly. Organizations can rise and fall in 1 year, and coaching structures have changed so much from even when Riot implemented the mandatory coaches, for example. Right.
So again, you are kind of a situation, we haven't seen too much of this. I know that Coach Chris, previous CLG coach, I think current Echo Fox coach, Weldon, there's not too many instances of people like yourself who you have a traditional sports background and then enter the esports arena and start working in there. Do you think that there are any unique challenges involved in having the traditional sports background rather than like coming natively from the esports side of things?
I think when you go into any sport, if it's esports or like rugby, American football, basketball, you have to understand the needs requirements of what the athletes have to go through. Yeah. So like physical, mental, emotional, technical. And from that point, you make sure that you stick within your own, let's say, remit. You don't want to go beyond, let's say, I wouldn't go in and start teaching you guys about lane swaps, for example. Right. You stick with what you know, and once you have enough people, I feel like the head coach does mostly strategical analysis and whatnot, but I think you need 2 people or 3 people so that the actual coaching infrastructure kind of fills in all the holes that you would have otherwise. If you have one coach, I think that there's way too much for that one coach to do. Right. And you eventually become, a jack of all trades but master of none.
Yeah. Now, kind of coming back to the context of all this with the LCS and Immortals, and we'll talk about yesterday in a second, but up until yesterday, I assume you just kind of got to hang out and not have to do much because Weldon seems to show up in situations where it's like, oh, we've lost the last 70 games we've played. People don't even consider us an LCS team anymore. Weldon, come save us. You're in a situation where you were working with a team that was just not losing any games until this weekend. Did you find that, was there still work to be done?
Well, we're a brand new team, so we had no culture when the players arrived. When there were 2 Korean players got off the plane, they pretty much came from their own background and organization. They'd been living together for so long, so they had a rapport. And then we had 3 guys that were surplus requirements from their previous teams, which probably meant that the environment that they were in before wasn't as facilitating or positive as it is now. So when we all come in, it's very easy to say that things clicked and we had synergy and that's why we're winning, and it almost is framed like we didn't put in work and it happened like organically.
Right.
Whereas, as a matter of fact, we put a lot of work into how we're working with the players, how Dillon especially, how to get the guys to actually play League of Legends the right way, how to do things the right way, so we're all on the same page. Because, coming from 4 different teams, it's very easy just to have your own feel about how you want to play the game. And I think that's how some teams right now struggle, in terms of they're not on the same page, they're not doing the same things, and there's a crossover and miscommunication. And I feel that the players really bought into the whole lifestyle that we have over there. It's competitive, but it's not stressful in a way that we demand the guys have to win games.
Yeah.
We're all about the process. So if you guys buy into living a healthy life, going into scrims with a good mentality and trying your hardest, then the results will kind of take care of themselves.
Well, it seems like they have so far, the split. With the note of yesterday, obviously the loss, since you seem to be more on kind of like the mental, emotional aspect of things, maybe even spiritual, I don't know. Maybe there's like religious ceremonies you're conducting.
Service every Sunday after LCS.
Okay. And you're leading the church service.
Yeah.
Was there work to be done afterwards where everybody's like, oh no, we don't have it anymore, like the spell has been broken, we've now lost, it's all downhill?
Yeah, we're pretty much just waiting to go to China. Forget about playoffs, it'll be fine, someone will pick us up.
Okay.
No, after the game, the mood in the room, the dressing room, was pretty much disappointment and sadness, as opposed to frustration and anger. And you can work with disappointment and sadness because it means that the guys felt they could have done better. It was within their potential to actually win the game. And they know they're a good team. Whereas if you have anger, frustration, and finger pointing, then you've got a lot of work to do because guys are basically blaming someone for maybe their own mistakes or the team's mistakes and shortcomings. So I feel that we got there, we knew what we did wrong, we did VOD review when we went home, we prepped for the next day, and everyone has lost games before. Jason is a veteran, Houdini and Rainover are veterans too, and Eugene's been around since forever. So they know what it's like to lose a game. But I think the big thing is how would we react with our 5 players in our environment, and I was really happy with how they actually took it on the chin, because we're not interested in going 18-0. We're interested in winning every game. If we get 18-0, then that's great, but realistically, number 1 seed for playoffs, getting into Las Vegas, for example, that's what we're aiming for. So no one was overtly emotional or anything. We took it really well.
Would it be safe to say that you're the tilt coach or the anti-tilt coach?
I despise the word tilt. Okay. Pivoting, I don't know what you'd want to call it.
From here on out, you're called the tilt coach in my book.
Okay, that's fine. Our guys are actually pretty good emotional and control-wise. In scrims, we rarely lose games, but when we do, we're pretty on point with being really constructive, concise about feedback, especially Dillon. Our VOD reviews are really, really, really on point. We don't tunnel on anything negative. We don't tunnel on things that won't help us in the long run. So that's kind of the biggest benefit of our team, is that we don't have that one person who just like, I'm leaving, and then he comes back in 10 minutes later saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left like that. All our guys are really professional.
That's good, Robert. But more importantly, I'm trying to figure out how Yip and Tilt, like somehow there's like some sort of pun or something.
Yeah,
next interview.
The Yip sing off, and people have that. It's very, it's a very strange name to have when you're a sports psychologist or consultant.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of this. Immortals going to go back to winning, I assume. Everything's going to go back to normal?
That's the plan.
All right. Is there anything that you would like to say to any of the Immortals fans out there?
Thanks for following us since the beginning. We're trying really hard to improve our team, to improve everything around us. We're not complacent about the wins that we have. We want to get better. We have a view towards international competition, not just winning ANA. So we want to make sure that when we get to, hopefully, MSI and Worlds, that we're ready to play against the better teams.
Very good. Well, this has been super informative. Thank you so much, Robert. For everyone else, this is Yahoo eSports.